Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video, I'm going to be using the new 2024 IOD summer release, and I'm going to be using the paint inlay called Delft Traditions in the blue. So this is a wall pocket that I thrifted, and I believe someone maybe put flowers in it because of the holes down in the bottom. So this is my second coat of white paint that I'm putting on. And when you use the paint inlay, you want to go ahead and put the first coat down, let it dry, and then put that second coat down and make it just a little bit thicker than the first coat. And then you're going to take this paint inlay, and sometimes I go ahead and mist it before I put it on. It just kind of depends on how big it is. And so you just lay it onto that wet paint. Make sure that the grid lines are facing you. And then I just take it and kind of pat it down a little bit. And then I mist it just to go ahead and let those two paints kind of work together. And then it takes about 60 minutes or so to let it dry. Then when it's dry and those grid lines are more visible again, then you're going to mist it and let it sit for about 60 seconds. And then the reason that I'm using a toothpick is because I like to try to cut right up to the design. And so that's why I'm using a toothpick to pull it off. And then you just very slowly pull it off. And it's as simple as that. And I love this new paint inlay. These colors are so vibrant. And I am going to show you another way in just a minute how I used one of the designs for the second use. So you'll notice that I put another design going up the sides of this wall pocket. And then after I sat and looked at it for about a week or so, I decided that they just didn't fit the design that was on the front. So I just painted over those. And now what I'm using is the Dixie Belle paint called In the Navy. And I'm just using a brush to kind of outline the edges of this wall pocket to pull in that blue and just kind of extend that color. But isn't this so pretty? And if you have not used a paint inlay, this is the one for you, because the blue is so pretty and it's so vibrant. And you're going to be really pleased with your results. And I will share my affiliate link to Decoupage Central in the description box below. So if you want to try out a paint inlay and you've not used it, this is definitely the one. And when you look at it, you're going to notice in this big pack that it also has full sheets of some designs. And those kind of designs have become really popular. So if you like blue, because it's becoming a more popular color right now, but if you like blue, you're going to want to get this paint inlay. And so all of the pieces that I'm doing today are going to be more for an elegant bathroom, or in maybe a guest room, or even in the master bedroom. But this is just a really large wall pocket. And I did clean it out on the inside because I think it maybe was used for flowers. And I just tucked in a hand towel and some soap and just made it all pretty. All right, now I'm going to show you how I use a paint inlay, not one, but 2 times. So the first time, it's just a little pitcher that I thrifted. And it's already kind of that creamy color anyway, but I need to get some chalk paint on that. So I actually put a couple coats of paint on it. And this is another one of the smaller designs in this paint inlay set. So when I cut it out, it's just one long strip, but I want to break it up a little bit, because when I put it on this picture, because of the ridges on this pitcher, I feel like it might kind of distort the design. So I figure if I can just put a little bit design down and then do another portion of it and another portion of it, then it's going to lay down really well. And if you notice, you'll see how close I cut to that design, because with the paint inlays, if you have a lot of that white paper hanging off the sides, sometimes you'll notice that little part where it kind of ends and starts and ends. So that's why I like to cut right up to the design. And also, when you do take those paint inlays off, lay them off to the side and let them dry, and then you can use them for either 2 or 3, another 2 times, or however much you're, like comfortable with. Because with each use, the color is going to be just a little bit dimmer each time, and the design might not be quite so distinct. But if you are someone who loves vintage and loves those little imperfections sometimes, then you're really going to like paint inlays. And then also, when you finish your paint inlays, I like to use just a light coat of Rust-Oleum clear matte sealer, and to finish it off with. And after I put that first really light coat on, then I can go back and put that second coat on to just make sure that it's sealed really well. But remember, if you try to maybe like paint on a sealer, because this paint, because it is paint, it's going to reactivate it, and it could smear if you just kind of brushed over it. Ask me how I know that. That was my first experience. So once again, I just go through that same procedure, and I love it. Look at those little teeny pieces pulling off and the color of that. And I know you're thinking, oh goodness, Myra, look at those little teeny pieces. Aren't you going to lose those? Oh, no. I save those. I don't like to let anything go to waste. Now here's where I'm going to show you the second use. So this is another basket that I thrifted, and I actually had painted it white initially because I hadn't decided what I was going to do with it. So I decided I would add it to this vignette. And because it's been a hot minute since I finished this up, I really am not sure if this is the Dixie Belle in the navy. It could be the other color of the blue, and it's called Yankee Blue. And so I just go ahead and paint over all of it, but I'll leave that little white strip up at the top. And I'm going to use the paint inlays for the second time on these little strips. And so when you look up at the weave of the basket, I pick that wider weave and I go back over it and I put Dixie Belle. It might be either fluff or another color. Or it could be Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm not really sure, but it's a white paint. It is not a cream color paint. So I go ahead and get that painted on, and then I will let that dry, and I'll put the second coat over it. And then I'm going to take all those little teeny pieces that I used before, and I'm going to cut them down even more to use for the second use. Because by the time that I'm ready to put them on this little basket, those little pieces of that paint inlay that I laid off to the side, they're dry by now. You wouldn't want to use them probably when they are wet and you just finished them up. It'd probably be better to go ahead and let them lay off to the side to dry. So tell me, have you used a paint inlay already? They are so much fun to use. But always remember, you've got to be okay with imperfections, because these came off really well, but I can tell you that I've not done perfect on some of my paint inlays, and so I'm just really happy that these turned out like they did. And see how I even just cut up those little teeny pieces and just made some smaller pieces because I wanted to fit them all on. So once again, you just mist them when you put them down and let it dry for about 60 minutes. I actually don't think these took as long. You mist it again and let it sit for 60 seconds, and then you pull them off. And then, yes, I did lay those little pieces off to the side because I may use them again. So they're really small, so I put them in a little Ziploc bag so I wouldn't lose them. And even though you will see that the design is not really distinct, it does tie in with all the other pieces that go along with this. And here's those two pieces. The first one is the little pitcher, and I'm just using it as a toothbrush holder. And that is the first use of that paint inlay. And then the other one is just something maybe you could put some little washcloths in, or maybe if it was a bigger basket, you could put little different rolls of toilet paper in it and just put that off to the side, and it would make a very elegant bathroom. Now the last piece, I'm also using that Dixie Belle Yankee Blue, and I have painted this little tissue holder. It's a wicker one, and I actually used it in another video, and I gave it to my mom, and she wasn't using it, so, well, I took it back, and I'm going to redo it. So on this one, I'm going to be using the new IOD. I think it's called Acorns and Oak Leaves. I'm not sure exactly the name. And this time I'm using air dry clay, and you'll see why. So if you've not used air dry clay, you put some cornstarch in the mold, and then you put your clay in it, and then you kind of smooth it down. And then when you get done, you just kind of turn it over, and then the gravity, it just kind of drops out. And because you put that cornstarch in it, then it makes it much easier to come out. So I'm going to play with it just a little bit because I'm not really sure which pieces I'm going to use. But if you noticed that very first leaf that I laid up there, I kind of rolled it over from the top of that little tissue holder down to the front. And that's the beauty of using the clay, is that you can really conform it to whatever you're putting it on. Whereas if you use resin, it's going to be a little bit harder to do. So I wanted to make sure that I used clay on these. And if you'll notice, I just use an old gift card to kind of smooth out the back. Now, one of the things that I do when I put all of my clay on, I let it sit. Oh, and I'm going to put it down with Titebond Thick and Quick. And after it's set up about 10 or 15 minutes, then I like to go ahead and paint it then. But I'm going to be using a really soft bristle brush when I do that. And I'm just going to be dabbing it on because I don't want to distort any of the detail in these molds. And then I'm going to show you another way how I finished off these leaves at the very end. So I like to use Titebond Thick and Quick, and it comes in a blue and gray bottle, but I just keep some in a little extra bottle because it's just easier to handle. And then I spread it on the back with a little silicone stick. And see how I'm just kind of laying that mold over onto the front of it? And I like that mold is extended. I think it just adds a lot of extra interest to the piece. And this particular mold has a lot of different leaves in it in different sizes. So it's really a good mold. And think about it, the fall is coming soon when we typically think about leaves, and just be thinking about all the vibrant colors that you could paint it with, in the coming days. And another way that you can use these leaves is you can make them out of clay, and you can put them on those pumpkins that you can get at the Dollar Tree. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I finish them off. And I wanted to use something that was blue and white, but I didn't want to try the paint inlay because of all the detail on the leaves. So I decided to just put some Mod Podge on them. And then this is a blue and white napkin that I have. And so do as I say and not as I do, but I made a big old mess. So for some reason, I thought, I'm just going to lay that napkin on top of all those leaves, and I'll just work my way around. Oh, my goodness. It was a hot mess. I thought I would never get the napkin, all these little extra pieces off of that. And I had to kind of take my scissors out and trim right up to the leaves, and it just took me forever. So if you're interested in putting a napkin over some of your molds, as to kind of decorate them a little bit more, what I probably should have done is taken that napkin and tore a little piece and put it over each individual leaf, because I thought I would never get this mess cleaned up. But I really liked the way it turned out at the end. So what do you think? Have you ever used a napkin to decoupage over a mold before? And here's my little tissue holder to go along with all the other pieces that you can put in your bathroom. So in the comments below, make sure to let me know which one is your favorite. Also, have you used a paint inlay before? And remember, I'm going to share my affiliate link for Decoupage Central in the description box below. If you have not gotten any of your IOD products, you can just zip right over to that and get, any or all of the pieces that they have in this new release. But I just love the way it turned out, and navy and those darker blues are becoming really popular. And so I love how all of these pieces just scream that clean and crisp feeling that you might want your guests to feel when they walk into your guest bathroom. So friends, I hope you have enjoyed this weekend where you've probably binge watched all of the YouTube videos on all of these new pieces. And I hope you've enjoyed this release because it has been so much fun. And remember, this paint inlay has such vibrant colors that if you've not used one before, this is the one you're going to want to use. I promise you, you will love the final result. And also, if you have not gone to my Facebook page before, I have started doing live videos on Facebook. So I'm going to share that link to my Facebook page in the description box below so you can check out some of the videos that I've been doing recently. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. And I will see you in my next video. Have a great day.